Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's always interesting when the voices that claim to be on the side of change spend more time attacking the men leading the charge than confronting the dictatorship holding the country hostage. I listened to Apostle Doc Makore, microphone in hand, passion in his throat, and a long-winded lecture aimed squarely at Nelson Chamisa, the one man who has consistently challenged ZANU-PF's monopoly on power without a single drop of blood on his hands. But make no mistake, this wasn't just a critic. It was a sermon dipped in bitterness, dressed in concern, and delivered with the theatrical flair of someone who clearly needed to get something off his chest. And what was the core message? That Chamisa tweets too much, speaks too little, is too hopeful, too calm, too Christian, too cautious, in short, too everything except the dictator people secretly want him to be. Let's take a deep breath and dissect this rant masquerading as analysis. Makore opens by quoting comments from social media, many of which reflect genuine frustration, of course. People are tired, people want a plan, people want action, all fair. But then he pivots into a wild conspiracy theory that Chamisa only exists to loot donor funds, has lost 50% of his support, and should give up politics entirely unless he goes back to fight for the MDC name, the same name ZANU-PF weaponized and contaminated beyond repair. This is not strategy, Apostle. This is confusion disguised as principle. And about the 50% reduction in his support, let's test this theory. At Zimwaves TV, we have been running a community poll on who people want to be the next president. As you can see from the results that we have gotten so far, Chamisa leads the pack. While we are here, if you think Chamisa should be leading the pack and someone else should be, go right to our community and cast your vote. Back to our story. Now, here's the irony. Makore claims he respects Chamisa. Of course. Just like how Goliath respected David right before throwing a spear. Let's talk facts. Chamisa is not perfect. He's a human being just like you and me. He has made mistakes. But here's the difference. His mistakes did not kill 20,000 people in Gugurawundi. His mistakes did not steal billions through cartels. His mistakes did not send soldiers to shoot protesters in broad daylight on August 1. His biggest crime is failing to act like a dictator in a dictatorship. And for that, people like Makore say he must go. He accuses Chamisa of doing nothing after the 2023 elections. Really? Chamisa led the nation to its largest protest vote ever under the most impossible of conditions. No access to media, no access to the voters' roll, state-sponsored violence, and judicial sabotage. He then stepped back to reorganize, while the regime activated a fake interim secretary general and used state power to decimate his party. This was not cowardice. It was a masterclass in restraint. If Chamisa had marched people into the streets, they would have been mowed down like August 1. The same critics would then say he is reckless. If he stays calm and strategic, he is silent. Heads, he loses. Tails, he also loses. And then came the strange obsession with party structures. Makore demands that Chamisa fights to reclaim CCC from Songezo Chavangu or reclaim MDC from Douglas Monzora. because apparently success in Zimbabwean politics is measured by how many court battles you fight. Never mind that both the MDC and CCC were gutted with the help of a captured judiciary and a rogue Speaker of Parliament. Fighting in that rigged system will be like entering a boxing match where the referee is also your opponent. What Chamisa did was the sensible thing to do. Stay away from the rot altogether. Ladies and gentlemen, wise men choose their battles. They don't just fight every battle. He abandoned a party. He never abandoned the people. Chamisa did the unthinkable. He walked away. He chose to build a new platform, not based on names, colors, or logos, but on people. In a country where politicians cling to old names like family heirlooms, Chamisa dared to evolve. And that is precisely why the regime and their apologists can't sleep at night. Ladies and gentlemen, all the revolutions that happened in history, they happened because someone, somewhere, changed the system of leadership. When the Marxists led a revolution in Russia, Marxism was not a model that had been proven elsewhere. People who think out of the box and do the unthinkable are usually the people that make history. When the civil rights movement in America rose up against oppression, they used models, they used tactics that had never been used by the blacks since slavery. And because of this, they managed to emancipate their people from slavery. And because of this, Africa was emboldened to fight against colonialism. So Chamisa might be starting new things and starting another thing and starting another thing. They might fail. He's a person. He's not a god. But at least he's trying to come up with something that will work. There have been political parties since 1980 in Zimbabwe. What have they done for the people? Those political parties have been having structures. ZANU-PF, ZAPU, Zoom, all the political parties have been there and having structures. What help did those structures do to the people of Zimbabwe? Nothing. Political parties have failed. What we need is unity among Zimbabweans. What we need is a movement that is run by the people, for the people. Political parties have divided the people. We need a citizens' movement that looks at Zimbabwe as a country. Ladies and gentlemen, do you believe Nelson Chamisa is Zimbabwe's best hope? Comment yes or no in the comment section and share your thoughts with the nation. Your comment might just shift someone's mindset. And remember to cast your vote on who you want to be president in 2028. Now, let's deal with the biggest lie. The lie says Chamisa only has support from poor, hopeless people. That statement is not only elitist, it is dangerous. It suggests that if you are suffering, your opinion doesn't matter. That only the middle class and elites are worth listening to. That poor Zimbabweans who form the majority should sit in silence until those in air-conditioned offices approve their political choices. This is the very mindset that built ZANU-PF, classism disguised as leadership. The truth is, Chamisa resonates with the poor because he is one of them. He was not born in a boardroom or a bishop's mansion. He knows poverty. He knows struggle. That's why he speaks hope. Because in a land where the bullets are cheap and bread is expensive, hope is radical. Hope is disruptive. Hope is dangerous. Makore wants Chamisa to be louder. But when Chamisa was loud, they called him immature. When he calmed down, they called him weak. When he wore suits, they said he was trying too hard. When he marched in the rain, they said he was performing. When he held rallies, they said it was reckless. When he withdrew, they said he was running. When he participated in elections, they said he legitimized ZANU-PF. At this point, the only acceptable thing for Chamisa to do is disappear completely so that his critics can finally have peace under tyranny. Now, let's look at Makore's final claim that Chamisa is back only because of political party funds. Really? From the same pot that ZANU-PF steals before it reaches the opposition? The same funds that were withheld from him even when he had MPs. If Chamisa wanted money, he would have joined Pollard like the rest of the gravy train gang. The fact that he didn't is the reason Zimbabweans still believe in him. If Chamisa wanted money, he would have accepted the post of leader of the opposition in parliament. If Chamisa wanted these political party funds, he would have continued being the leader of CCC, even while knowing that the party has been captured and he has lost control of it. So, to Pastor Makore and all those who think like him, you are allowed to be frustrated. You are allowed to ask questions. You are even allowed to criticize. But you are not allowed to gaslight the only viable alternative Zimbabwe has, just because he is not doing politics your way. If Chamisa is not your guy, go and build your own movement. But don't spend 12 minutes slandering a man you admit is respected, anointed, and followed while offering zero alternative. Zimbabwe is tired, but don't let your frustration make you the PR team for the dictatorship. Don't kick the only ladder out of the pit just because it doesn't climb fast enough. Chamisa still represents the hope of millions. Not because he's perfect, but because he's still standing, still praying, still speaking, still unbought, and still dangerous to the regime. The silence you hate is not fear. It's strategy. And when the time is right, Chamisa will speak louder than ever. And those who mocked him today will pretend they always believed. And most of those who mock him today will be mocking him when he is speaking. We remember when Chamisa was speaking about spaghetti roads. People mocked him and laughed at him. Where will we get the money? But when Trababalas was built, even though it was a shoddy job and built at an astronomical cost, people kept quiet. Well, so Mnangagwa, the one who can't even provide jobs for his own people, can build a spaghetti road. But Chamisa can't with the same government money. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, let the men breathe. Let the vision grow. Let the noisemakers rant. History will speak and it will not stammer. That's it for tonight, ladies and gentlemen.